I've had these sitting around for about a year now. Got them when I picked up a big load of walnut from an old sawyer. And I'm pretty sure that they came out of, that they were sequentially cut or sequence cut, which means they're one after another. So I'm going to find that arrangement in the log. This is going to be my tabletop. So that way the middle of it, I'm going to try to do a book match. So let me figure out what sequence these were cut in. The trick to getting these lined up will be using the character as hints, like these knots. I think we've got a knot both ends, so this board probably needs to flip around, as well as these long flat sides if I match those up, as well as which way the bark curves. Using those, I should be able to figure this out. Okay, very confident this is the way the board was as a log before it was slabbed up. Of course, some material was removed through the sawing process, and one of these boards I had some different plans for, so I took some material away. But based off the knots that are here, and then this big knot here and how those line up, and just the general curve and how everything comes together, pretty sure this is the way it was. So let's talk unfolding this into a tabletop. You might be thinking, that looks cool, Caleb, but what are you going to do? Fill all that with epoxy? That'd be kind of gaudy. And once you rip straight boards out of these, it's going to be pretty narrow. Got better ideas than that. But first step is going to be bringing the middle together. I could fill this with epoxy. Don't want to do that. I'm just going to... Let me show you. All right, on these dudes that have to meet together, we got a straightish line. Have to joint this later, but you can probably tell there's some twist in all these. So first thing, take them all to the joiner, get a flat face, and then start planing them. Okay, first milling's done. If you've watched my milling video or been around, you know I'm a huge advocate of doing multiple millings. This wood was twisted, had some cups. I think we're very close to flat now, but because I removed a lot of the fibers that was holding the wood in the position it was, it has to find a new balance. So they're going to twist and they're going to cup a little bit again. So if I had gone to final dimension, I wouldn't have room to correct for that. So I just got everything pretty flat first time. I'm going to let this rest a day or two. Then I'm going to join it and plane it again to bring it back to flat. By the second or third time, that should be good. Moisture has a little bit to do with that. We're going to talk about that. But first, the design. As you see, I'm going to join the two middle boards on the flat. The way I'm going to tie in these outside boards is I'm actually going to join them on a curve, which is a fun technique I've done before. So that'll be exciting to talk about. I've designed the base. I've been inspired by Nakashima's work lately. So I'm going to combine some elements to two of his most popular bases. I've got my pick list ready. So after we talk about moisture, I'm going to try to pull down some walnut for the base to be a nice contrasting wood. Really like walnut and cherry combined, and hopefully don't hurt myself or kill myself getting that stuff down. Okay, wood moisture. I've got my meter set to the specific gravity of cherry, and it tells me that the EMC, the equilibrium moisture content in this environment, is taking the humidity and temperature in here right now and saying, based on the specific gravity of this wood, the driest it's going to get is 7.6%. I've been checking this over the past few days, and it floats around 7.5 to 8.5 just as the temperature and humidity changes in my shop, because it's not totally controlled. Yeah, it just jumped to 7.8%, so let's say 8. Now I'm going to see what my wood is. We've got 10.9, 10.4, 12, 10.3, 11. Okay, so looks like I'm pretty consistent around 10 to 11. Ideal is to be around plus or minus 3% points. You're not going to see too much change. It's going to be an issue. So my goal's 8. I'm around 10, 11. So this is going to lose a little bit of moisture in here, but it's pretty slow at that point, so shouldn't interfere too much. So I feel confident moving forward. Don't need to give this more time to dry or acclimate to my shop. My racks look a lot lighter because I got more wood than I need, hopefully. These are a little wonky and a little too long and unwieldy to really work through my machines. I can do about 8 feet. These are 10 feet. So to make it a lot easier to manage, I'm going to chop these down into the lengths I need. Fortunately, there's only 3 lengths I need, so that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to work around the defects that are already marked, and all the lengths I'm going to go are a few inches longer than the finished dimension I need to account for snipe and working around defects. And I'm going to make 1 or 2 extra boards in each dimension, which will hopefully minimize mistakes. So time to get marking and chopping. Should come up with a rhyme or something catchier than that, but whatever. Oh, one other thing for when I'm gluing these up, I am paying attention. Some of these are a little nasty. This is going to get laminated together into thicker boards. So the nasty ones, I'll just plan on having the nasty face on the inside or being in the center of laminations, because some of them are going to be 3 boards thick, I think. Anyway, time to shut up. off camera, ran all this through the planer. Pretty sure you get how that goes. Anyway, this is all my extra. I sorted through the best pieces and paired together the pieces I need that'll get laminated up. I have one extra of each, so that way I can do some test cuts. These three will be one big beam, and this I'm gonna rip in half and do, you know, can't follow that up right there. Perfect domino. Anyway, time to start gluing stuff. Okay, I've got everything laid out to make sure if there's any defects or like extra sapwood that goes on the inside so it's not visible. And it's time to start gluing. I'm kind of proud of myself because I remembered to take my own advice and lay down my resin paper, not deluding myself into thinking this is actually going to be neat at all, because I am not a neat person. And this is the Rockler squeeze roller thing. It's super handy for when you got a lot of big glue ups like this to do. All right, got all these guys clamped up. I know everyone's all over the place on whether you put glue on both sides or one side of the board. Titebond itself talked about on a podcast that it really doesn't matter as long as there's enough glue to wet out. So as long as it doesn't tack up and you got plenty of glue, it really doesn't matter if you put it on one side or both sides. But they do prefer people put it on both sides because they sell more glue. Their words exactly. I didn't bother edge jointing these because I knew, or a lot of these, some of them I did if they were pretty wonky, because now that they're laminated, I got to edge joint them anyways. That's why I only face jointed and planed them earlier. And as far as wiping glue off, I know that's kind of contentious too. I like to wipe it off once it gums up and gets kind of sticky. I try to wipe it, but then I could see that it was already kind of forming a shell. So that's when I busted out the scraper and then wiped off the excess. And that's just going to make it machine easier, because glue buildup is harder than wood and really tough on the blades and stuff. So getting most of that off is going to make it easier to machine once it dries. And I S4S all this again. Now, time for the second milling on the cherry slabs. Okay, these have rested about 2 days and they've had some movement. They're still pretty close to flat, but I want them flatter. So just eyeballing it is hard to tell. So I like to use a straight edge to figure out where the defects are. And because I'm able to wiggle this on the top, I know that the bow is going this way. So this, when I run it through the joiner, you always want your bow up, so you're hitting the ends first. So that's the orientation I'll feed this board, is just as it sits. This one, it's not wiggling. Okay, it is wiggling on the top some. It looks like waiting on a truck and a car. The end is diving off. Yeah, but in the middle here, I see light underneath. So most of this is actually cupped like this, and then the end is a little thinner. But I'm going to cut those off anyway to shorten this up, because these are about 7 feet. They're going to come down to around 6. So it looks like this one, I actually need to feed this one down, because that's the way most of the bow is going. But when I feed it through the joiner, I want to feed this in first, not that end, because that end is off, but this end is closer to how I want it to be. I'll check the rest of them, throw them through the joiner and the planer, and then let them sit and check them again. But you guys already know how that goes, so next time I see you, I'll be working on the table base pieces. Okay, these have had a few days to dry. You can see I've got them elevated and they still look straight to me. So time to rip them to consistent width and the milling will be done. Well, that's it for video 1 of the big build off. The milling, got everything milled. Haven't cut these to final length because I need to finalize my design and I don't want to cut them too short. Thanks to Firm Grip Gloves for making sure I didn't get any splinters during the first rough milling of these. Everything seems pretty stable. They've all had 2 or 3 millings. So next step's time to start putting some things together. Hope to see you there, and until next time, make time to make something.